Hello there, my name is Jason Schmaltz and I'm an AMJ single pitch instructor, and today I'm going to show you how to pass your lead test at your gym. And it's really important to get lead certified in a gym because it's kind of the gateway to going outside, whether you're going to go sport climbing, trad climbing, or any style of route climbing outside. Being able to practice in the gym and get your technique down is really important. It's also important so that you know how to support partners outside. So I'm going to go through the different components of a test that you'll see, and you can practice them before you take your test in the gym and then get certified. The first thing that the examiner is going to probably ask you to do is to go ahead and flake a rope. And as we flake a rope, I'll show you the process for that. So Clinton, why don't you show the rope, me flaking the rope right here in the pile. So I want to flake the rope in a nice neat pile so that it's all the strands are on top of each other, so that when I go to start climbing and feed out rope, it comes out nice and smooth. Now, as I'm flaking the rope, I'm looking for any kind of special, any kind of imperfections in the sheath, or any kind of, like if the rope is weak. See how right there I can't bend the rope all the way, but if I could, where those two strands touch each other, that would be a weak point in the rope. I want to be kind of looking for those, or any big frays in the rope, I want to be looking for as I flake it. Okay, so as I finish flaking the rope, I'll go ahead and take the climbers in and tie in. We'll go ahead and tie a figure 8 follow through. So kind of like I showed in another video, you kind of get shoulder to arm length, make a bite, go around the bite and through. That's my figure 8. And then now I want to get the perfect figure 8 loop. Remember, go through the hard side first. And then as I trace around my rope, I try to have it dressed nice and neat. Try to dress it as you go. And then I went through the hard side first, so I go through the easy side on the way out. And you can see there I have a really well-dressed figure 8 knot. My tail's a little short, so you'd normally want that a little bit longer, kind of to my pinky, but this is okay for now. If you are in a gym where they make you do an overhand knot as a backup, then you'll need a little bit more tail. But now I'm ready to start climbing. But before I do that, I'm going to want to show my clipping technique to the examiner. So let's get a close-up right here. So the first technique is clipping on the outside, where the gate is on the outside of your body, okay? So the way I do this is I bring the rope up like this in my hand, where I kind of have the rope in between these two fingers, and I'll grab the carabiner with my thumb and kind of my ring finger like that, and I'll just basically squeeze and put it in. Now, here's the important thing, is that this rope is coming over like a waterfall toward my knot, okay? I do not want the rope coming from the back side of the carabiner toward my knot. I want it coming over the front like a waterfall toward my knot. And the reason for that is if you clip like that, you do what's called a back clip. And the concern with that is as I climb up, so the rope would be up like this, if I were to fall in a certain angle, the rope could unclip itself and you could have an accident, okay? So, again, nice and slow, I got the rope between these two fingers. I grab the carabiner with my thumb and just squeeze the rope through and good to go. And I would do the same thing with my other hand. They'll ask you to do both hands. So between both fingers, grab the carabiner with my thumb and clip through, okay? The other technique of clipping is where the gate is on the inside of your body. So this gate is facing to the right, but it's on my left side. And the way that I do that is I grab the rope with my pointer and thumb, and I control the carabiner with my middle finger. And so once I have control of the carabiner, I can bring that rope up and just clip it through like that. Again, I'll do it slow. I have the rope between my pointer and my thumb. Grab the carabiner with my middle finger and clip through. And same thing on this carabiner. Again, pointer, thumb, opposite hand. Grab with my middle finger and clip through. Always the rope coming over to my knot, okay? So we talked a little bit about bag clipping and why that's bad. The other bag clip technique is called a Z-clip. And that's when you clip above you first and then below you, okay? So that's where I've mixed up my order of clipping, okay? And there's two reasons why this is bad. Your gym may want to know both reasons. They may be only looking for one, but it's important for you to know both reasons. The first reason is if I'm climbing from here, I have a higher potential fall than if I clipped in order, right? But the second reason, and what I think is actually kind of worse, is anytime the rope makes a Z, okay, that's a break. Okay, you make a Z with your ATC to break. So this is a break, and you'll start climbing up and you won't be able to progress and you'll get stuck. Okay, and then it's going to be kind of hard for you to go anywhere. So that's the second concern. First concern is higher potential fall. Second concern is that you can get stuck. The next thing that the examiner is probably going to ask you to do is to show your belay technique, your lead belay technique. And this is the hardest one to practice on your own, so I would recommend if you have a group of 3 that you have your partner climb on top rope, but then have them trail a lead rope and you can practice the belay technique, okay? But anyway, the way that you practice that is, or the way that you will show that, is you just get at any point in the middle of the rope, you will set up your gree-gree or your ATC. In this case, I'm using a gree-gree, okay? And I'll lock that down. Now, here's the proper way to hold a gree-gree on a lead belay, is you take your pointer and you get in that little notch right there, okay? And then I hold that with my thumb, and then I have the brake strand running through that same hand. So I have my pointer that basically supports the gree-gree, my thumb provides stability, and then these 3 fingers will provide a brake if I need to hold brake, okay? Now, the first thing I want to show is taking out slack for your lead climber. So the way that you do that on a gree-gree is if I try to just take out slack like this, it's going to get stopped, okay? So I need to stop that cam. So I will put my thumb on the cam, get a real close-up of that, Clinton. Take my thumb, put it on the cam, pull the strand out, but then I put my thumb back. It's important that you don't keep your thumb on the cam and then just keep pulling slack, because if your climber falls, you can't react fast enough to take your thumb off and they could hit the ground. I've seen a lot of people hit the ground because their belayer gets complacent by keeping their thumb on the cam. So again, it's thumb on the cam, pull slack out, thumb off the cam, okay? That's how you want to feed out slack. Now, to take up slack, it's just like on top rope. So the most basic top rope technique is both hands on the brake, up, down, slide, slide, up, down, slide, slide. That's how I'd recommend doing this in your exam. So my hands never come off the brake. I'm not, doing this kind of thing. My hands are locked on and they're just sliding. Okay, so I always have one hand tight. So if someone were to fall, I'll be able to hold the brake. So the examiner is going to ask you to potentially kind of switch back and forth as fast as you can. So let's say, okay, put out slack as fast as you can. Okay, so you thumb on, thumb on, thumb on, and then I'll say, hey, take up slack. So up, down, slide, slide, up, down, slide, slide, up, down, slide, slide. And it's important for you not to get too wrapped up with trying to go too fast. Just maintain good technique. Bigger movements, so you get more rope per move, is going to help you go a lot smoother and faster than if you're kind of all tense and nervous. Okay, so that's why it's kind of good to practice this stuff before you take your test. So that's lead belaying, taking up and giving out slack. The next thing they'll probably ask you before you start to actually lead climb is how you want your belay stance to be when you're belaying. So or we'll pretend like my climber's taking off on this wall, and I'm going to belay. And they'll say, hey, how do you want this rope to look like? And you want it to kind of look like a lazy J, okay? A droopy J, there's too much slack in the system. A tight J, or basically almost no J, there's not enough slack for your leader to progress. Okay, so you'll be, when they try to take up rope, they'll get stopped and they can get off balance. So you want kind of this medium, this like lazy J, okay, not a droopy J, where if they take up some slack, I can feed it out and kind of maintain this shape, okay? Now, the closer they are to the ground, you may want it to be a little tighter, okay? When they're on the first or second clip, you may want it to be tight so there's very little slack in the system, because that's the main concern, is they can hit the ground with too little slack in the system. Now, as they get higher, the risk becomes that they're tired and they can't pull the rope efficiently if it's tight, and they'll use up their energy trying to pull the rope. So it's okay to be a little bit more droopy if they're on the upper part of the wall, because one extra foot of slack isn't going to make a difference when they're 35 feet up, okay, on a lead fall. So that's okay. But the textbook answer is kind of this lazy J shape. Second thing they'll ask you is, hey, where do you want to be positioned? So the answer to that is that you want to be as close kind of under the climber without being directly under them where they would fall on you as you can. The reason for that is if they fall, you want to be pulled kind of straight up, or maybe if you're a little bit to the side so you won't hit them or they won't hit you, that you maybe are pulled up and a little bit diagonal. What you don't want to be is way out here, and if they have a lead fall, they jerk you and slam you into the wall. That's what you don't want. So the closer you can be to the wall, of course, you can be kind of a little bit off center from them so that they're not going to hit you if they fall. But the closer you can be to the wall, the more straight up you're going to be pulled, and the better off you're going to be in the case of a lead fall. Now, in the case of a leader actually falling, you want to be able to provide what's called a soft catch. So a lot of people, when they're new belayers and they know their leader's going to fall, they'll kind of squat down, kind of trying to get a low center of gravity and stay on the ground. It's actually the opposite of what you want to do. What you actually want to do when they fall is you want to jump up so that when they fall, there's a nice ease transition to them stopping as you kind of counterbalance them on your way up. Obviously, there's big weight differences between you and your leader. You may modify that. If I'm climbing with someone that's 60 pounds less than me, I actually maybe ask them to do that because they're going to get pulled up anyway. But on average, if your belayers, within a few pounds of you or about the same weight, you want to do this jump up when they fall. The second thing is, if you are a little bit off the wall, be ready to brace yourself with your foot if you are going to get pulled into the wall a little bit. That's kind of one technique you can use if you had to step back a little bit to see your climber. Okay. So as your lead climber falls and you're getting ready to jump, you want to time it properly. I don't want to jump too soon because I'll be actually on my way down when they actually stretch the rope, and it could cause them to kind of slam into the wall. I want to wait as they fall, and there's more time than you think when they fall. As they fall and I see that rope start to get tension on it, I almost want to let it pull me into my jump, okay? And that will help them to have the softest fall without getting kind of recoiled because you're on your way down. So they'll actually straighten the rope out while I'm on my way up on my jump, and we'll counterbalance each other perfectly. Okay, so now we're going to show you the actual act of lead climbing and lead belaying together, which is going to be the last part of your test typically. So Clinton is already tied in, and I'm going to go ahead and get my Gree set up. I'm going to give him some slack so that he can get his climb started. And I'm locked in. We'll check each other. I'll double check his knot. He'll double check that I'm locked. Double check each other's harnesses, make sure everything's good. And then we'll go ahead and let Clinton get started to climb. Now, one thing to note that we didn't mention before is Clinton will try to clip between his head and his waist. And the reason for that is if he tries to clip really high, he actually introduces more slack in the system than if he were just to clip in this ideal zone. Obviously outside, you got a good stance and you feel like you can clip and it's above your head, you're probably going to do it. But ideally, we want to try to introduce the least amount of slack in the system as we can as we progress through the climb. So let's watch how Clinton does that as he climbs. Okay, Clinton, go ahead and start climbing. And as he climbs, I'll have the rope in both of my hands. I'll have the lead side in one hand, the brake side in another hand, and I'll spot him while he's climbing. Now, what's important is if he were to fall, that I'm not too concerned with catching him. Really, I'm just trying to make sure his head doesn't hit the ground. So his butt might hit the ground, but I want to make sure his head doesn't hit the ground as he falls if I'm spotting him. Now that he's clipped in, I can go ahead and pull the slack up, and now he is officially on belay. And you can see as he climbs, I'm staying to the side of him, so if he were to fall, he's not going to fall directly on me. But you can see I'm close to the wall, and I'm maintaining this kind of lazy J. I'm a little tight right now because he's only 2 or 3 clips up. But as he progresses, I'll become lazier and lazier with this J so that I don't short rope him. And every time that I feed out slack, I put my thumb on the gree-gree, but then after I'm done taking out slack, I put my thumb back on the grip. So if he were to have a surprise fall, I'm already on break. You can see Clinton is clipping between his head and his waist, trying to minimize slack in the system. Okay. Okay. So now Clinton's going to go ahead and take a fall, and in your lead belay test, you will need to absorb a fall. So let's watch the mechanics of this. I'm going to watch him as he falls, and as this rope starts to pull tension, I will try to execute my jump timing so that I counterbalance him on my way up on my jump. Okay, go ahead and fall. So you see how when he fell, see how high I went? That's actually a good thing because I gave him that much softer of a catch. He was counterbalanced as I rose up versus trying to pull my whole 200-pound body off the ground as dead weight. Okay, so I kind of helped him. You can see he had a nice, easy fall, and it felt good. How'd that fall feel? Thumbs up. Hey, I hope you found that video useful on passing your indoor lead climb test. I encourage you to try to push to take that because it really kind of opens up a lot of possibilities for you outside. Hey, we'll see you out at the crag.